Hey everyone, welcome back to Evony with Genghis. So, got a special three-way interview today with SoCon Barb Life. You can see him in the bottom right of the screen. He can't quite see the picture yet. I know he always likes to see what picture I put up for him. And Egon, one of the larger players on Now C5. They just moved there, server 1616. We're going to talk about a delegative style of leadership and trusting players in your alliance to help out, as opposed to lots of alliances go through a style where they just have a leadership group and it's sort of a vote on every single item in the alliance, rather than giving full control of different things in the alliance, like monster summons or battlefield command, recruitment, different things like that. So SoCon brought this up to me privately and Egon before, and anyone else who listens to him, and really passed on the ideas of the benefits of it. And I implemented it in my alliance, and I think we've had great changes over the past few months because of it. And Egon's also done it, so we want to talk about that going forward. There's also an Aptoid code above my head. It'll start in about 24 hours. So let's start with SoCon. Did I do a good job introducing that?
Yeah, that's great. So we basically I had made some videos about specific leadership structure. It's called a rank and file system with but with delegated authority. Basically, in a situation where you got a whole server that combines together. Egon, had talked to me months ago. His whole server was combining. So I spent several hours talking to Egon, and then a few months prior to that, I spent quite a bit of time talking to Genghis about it. But I talked to both of them up to the point that they made up their mind to actually implement it. So it was, it was one-on-one privately with both of them. And I got one update from Genghis about how things were going, but I never really talked to Egon about, what they changed, what he noticed. So this is everything in this interview will be, all of us hearing it for the first time. I want to know, how it worked out for them. Basically, the idea is if you got everybody on the whole server on one team, well, you can find the best people on the whole server that you guys got, and you can give them jobs to manage. What are all the things an alliance needs managed for the alliance? If you hand off all those jobs entirely to different people that want to play the game that way, like someone might be very highly interested or irritated with rallies on the alliance boss or world boss not being coordinated. Well, make a guy that does that. If you got someone, if you have the entire server, a one alliance server, there's probably, find the person most interested in doing that and have them coordinated entirely. And like Genghis said, instead of having a group of, in my experience, instead of having a peanut gallery of leadership where everybody talks about everything back and forth forever and they can't make a decision on anything, you make all your leadership, the decision makers, and you put someone entirely in charge of each thing that needs to be managed for the alliance, rather than, having 10 officers, and they're not officers, they're, a council, or what are the, what are the popular things people
Yeah,
call them?
leadership groups or whatever, whatnot. So I know how mine went, like the type of coordinators, managers that I put in, and how it, I think, brought more pride into the alliance and made people feel more welcome and gave them, control over things. So Egon, how about you tell us what sort of positions you created and how it made changes in the alliance?
Okay, so we had a big dynamic change recently because when we started, like on the server, we had like three big alliances, and we agreed from the beginning that we were going to kind of rotate the throne. Didn't matter about SVS wings, so like we had an old player that was saying like, oh, it should be based on like SVS rankings. That's how everybody does it, but the other guys didn't want to do it, so it was like 2 out of 3 were voting for the throne rotation. So we did that for like the better part of like, more than a year. until it got to the point where I had so many guys with SVS wings that, weren't not as SVS wings that weren't getting the throne. So like they were kind of like getting, not getting the dragon. So like some things were like, not coming together the way it should. And this whole time I was trying to get these other alliances to kind of join with me, which, they did come to visit, but they never came permanently. So about 2 months ago, we got the other biggest alliance on the server to join us. And it was kind of like bad timing because at that time we kind of went into like a civil war on our server with the other alliance at the same time. And I'm not going to get into all that drama. But when they came over, they brought in a bunch of R4s with them. And part of our agreement was that we would honor who their leadership was. So like when they first came over, dude, we had like 30 R4s. And I'm like, yeah, this is just too much. It's not going to work. And I talked to Sokin and he kind of like broke down what he had going on. And I was like, so, I'm going to trim down like our R4s because I agreed to like a certain amount for them. And they cut out a couple of the ones that they had in fairness. So, we got to the point where we still have a lot. We have like 15 right now. But for the longest time, like before they came over, like I pretty much did like majority of the stuff within the alliance. So, getting some help in certain areas like now and changing like people's positions definitely made a big difference. So like just for instance, we have like one guy who every week he does Garudas at the same time. So like he has that set, he'll send a mail out just to remind everybody. And sure enough, Friday at, certain server time sharp, he's doing the Garudas and that's it. I've also set up my marches because, I'm the strongest guy in the alliance to where my whole team can use my marches to hit monsters. I put my auto join from the rally card on, which is, relatively cheap. It's one of the better purchases in the game. It's $10 a month. I know most people use it and know about it. So I just set up those marches and I basically made a list for my team to show them what each march can kill. So they don't like get me a whole bunch of wounded and like, again, I can kill most of the monsters, but like, my first march can do B21s, second march can do B20s, third march is like B19s and down. So anyway, so now anybody on the alliance can start a rally with one troop and basically, kill just about any monster on the map. So now I don't have to do 8 hours of monsters a day, which at one time I was doing that manually for like the better part of a year. So like some of these things
and Egon, that was also something we spent a few hours talking about, right?
Correct. So he gave me that idea, which was brilliant, that idea to not have to do the monsters like that. And I'll tell you, not only are we getting like more monsters now, but obviously I have more time to do other things.
Can you let me chime in here, Egon?
Of course.
Yeah, so I talked to both of you for quite a bit of time. I remember Genghis being, several like sessions of multiple hours over multiple days. I think I talked to Egon for a shorter period of time, but it was a lengthy period of time talking to you both personally up to the point where you knew enough about it for you to yourself, make a decision that you're going to implement this type of leadership structure. So a few things, I took some notes on what you said. But one of the things you have that's getting managed by somebody, like it's just getting done each time, right? You said Garudas, guys sending out, like that's a perfect example of like someone that is managing something. No one else has to worry about, is this going to happen? Are we going to get the spiritual beast experience for it? Because it happens at the same time as Yimmers, right? But you got a guy that wants to get it done. He's sending out an alliance mail. Like, that's key. Like, officers completely in charge of something. Like, it doesn't matter how trivial or small it is, but if they're completely managing it, and you have everything that needs to be done on a daily or weekly or longer period of time basis, if someone's managing each specific thing entirely, things run so smoothly. If you have most alliances out there, not to talk trash about everybody, I make a video. my wife's down in her bra and panties right now. But no, they don't have my screen. Yeah, I don't think you guys can see my camera.
No.
If you have everything handed off to specific people that want to do it, like that's the main thing. Like someone interested in doing that. Like for example, our alliance had an event coordinator. a female, and she would run what was it? Undead invasion, right? Destructive attack, and then she would always send out an email every time she was doing it. She always ran it at the exact same time. She'd put out the server time for that it was going to occur, so everyone could see, the server time in the game. She ran it like clockwork for, over a year. If she wasn't available, she just asked someone in a private message if they could do it while she was on vacation or whatever. And I literally never had to talk to her about it again. And that was just managed forever once someone volunteered and wanted to coordinate those things. And if you set that up for every aspect in your alliance, and if you're a one server alliance, like, you have the manpower to do that, right? Like, next thing you know, no one's bickering back and forth or arguing about anything anymore. Because another key point in it, and like I said, I have 4 videos over 2 hours of total length on my YouTube, Real Barb Life, talking about this. But you give them complete, maybe it's an important thing, like battlefields officer. Like in our alliance, we had a battlefields officer. He was completely in charge of battlefields progression, obtaining the most amount of rewards for the battlefields team, getting the people qualified for all-stars that have a high probability of making it past the prelims, and, battlefields progression over time, like, completely in charge of who's registered for battlefields, for all battlefields, and no one's arguing, why am I not registered for battlefields? Like, they don't know. And anytime someone has a question, they're all told by everybody in the alliance, if you have a question, talk to the battlefields officer. So someone is able to do that, and they're able to do that well if they have one job. Like 10 people or 15 people that are part of a council or a leadership group, they end up not being good at anything. Unless, they're an alliance that's been around for 3, 4, 5 years. But in those alliances on those older continents that have been around for a long time, they do have people that have been managing certain things for a very long time. Whether they consider themselves or not to be this type of leadership structure, they actually are. They aren't even aware of it.
Yeah, I look back at like Neff, one of my old alliances on my other server, and they're one of the top alliances, been around forever. And yeah, they have a leadership group, but they also have like one guy who's in charge of, this is how you're going to improve your account. These are the packs you're going to buy. So, and then they have someone else who's like, I'm the guy who can go across the map in 60 seconds and kill all the monsters. So you're going to listen to me on how we kill set monsters. So they have people. So I want to talk a little bit about the downfall of this delegative system, because everything has pros and cons, right? So for me, I'll tell you the biggest negative I had, and Egon, you could tell me the same thing. And it's basically just the lifelong R4s who just want to be R4. That's it. Yeah. Like, pretty much that's the downfall. I've had people quit the alliance because I told them, like, you're not going to be R4 anymore if you won't be manager of something. And then they'll be like, okay, I'll do this. How about I do this? And then they do nothing.
And Genghis.
Go ahead.
Genghis, let me stop you there, because that's why it's important to understand what a delegated authority is. An authoritative structure. It's the best, like if you Google it, it's the best authoritative structure you can have. However, the most common authoritative structure is positional authority, where just your position, like the respect or the people under you have to listen to you, are solely based off your rank, your title, or the name of your position in the group. So they want to be a rank 4 because they've always been a rank 4. Listen to me, I'm a rank 4. That's positional authority.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with competence or expertise or knowledge or anything. That's positional authority.
Right. When stuff like for that particular thing, do you catch most of the like blowback from all that? Is that all coming to you?
Yeah. So
Well, there's many negative things about positional authority. If you have a group where we're the officers, but no one actually is the officer of anything, just their opinions matter the most, they talk the most. Well, then everybody wants to be a rank 4 as well, so their voice matters too, right? So these people, like, they think, I was a rank 4 before. I played on this server before. I was always a rank 4. I was a rank 4. They keep talking about their position over and over and over and over again. They never say to you, well, I was good at this, or I managed that. Things ran smoothly. I directly, always took care of whatever a trivial task was that needs to be done on a weekly basis for the alliance, so that ran smoothly. They never talk about that. So if you're a rank 4 and you're not an officer, and the rank doesn't mean anything. It's like positional authority is like not to get into politics, but like Trump's cabinet right now, he's got like the best cabinet members you could ever find for every position. Like, that's delegated authority. Find the best people for the jobs. Where Biden's
all
cabinet.
right. So I'm just gonna stop you there
Yeah,
because I'm gonna have to edit that out anyways. Like,
you're gonna finish that, right?
you just can't.
Okay,
Like,
let me give you another.
No,
okay, if you don't like that one, that's fine.
it's
Positional authority
okay.
would
It's okay. I'm gonna edit it out anyways. We can't
Yeah,
talk
no
politics.
politics.
They take down videos.
Yeah, no politics. No
So-
religion, no
Here's
politics.
another example of positional authority. It would be like in that movie Braveheart, where the Lord whatever shows up, and he just wants to have sex with all the women on their wedding night because he's the Lord. He's in that position. Positional authority. It has nothing to do with merit, competence. They're relying on the status of the position being a rank 4. That's all they've ever done. It's important to them. They always want to be a rank 4.
Yeah. All right. So in terms of Egon's question to me, do I take blowback for it? Yeah. Two things here. So one, the people who were upset they couldn't be R4 and left, it honestly turned out to be a blessing. Yeah, they contributed in other ways with like monsters and stuff, but just negative in every other way, and we're better off.
Well, yeah, because
but
again,
then on the other part of your question, do I take blowback? And one of the things SoCon told me with this also is, yeah, I get people who are like, well, so-and-so is saying do this, and I don't like it. We never did it that way. So-and-so is saying that. And I just straight up tell them, like, they're in charge of that. This is how we're doing it from now on. This is the path that they chose, that how we should go about summoning monsters. Like, we have a guy who's really good at summoning monsters, and he tells everybody, like, yo, go port around. These are the spots that you should port around on the map. And then, he'll correct people if they're not doing it the way that he says. And then sometimes I'll get messages and I'll be like, look, no, he's in charge of this. I can't be in charge of everything. He's doing a good job with it. Our monster scores have gone up since he's been in charge. Listen to him. The end.
So I just want to put. Can I just stick one thing in there? So like the officer group, like the leadership group, and not being part of the officer group anymore, or thinking that way because you're not a rank 4 anymore. Like these people, you mentioned how when they were gone it made things better, because these people are used to putting in their input on every single last thing, but not actually managing anything well. So yeah, it removes a big problem for sure.
So all right. So I have a statement and a question for Genghis. So number one, so the blowback, with these people who were R4s and want to keep that power but aren't doing anything, so you remove them, and then they essentially left because they were salty, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So those type of people are clearly like selfish, right? They weren't thinking about the team. They were just thinking about themselves. So like you said, it was a blessing in the end. Before that happened, like how long was that gap of time, like that you had to listen to them complain? And then did you get stuff from like some of your good members who they were complaining to, and then they were bringing that energy to you as well?
So I'd say that it was years, and I noticed the selfishness in Battlefield as well. Like no matter what time of the day, they'd sign up. It's like, so you don't sleep, like you'll sign up and then just not do a good job. You know what I mean? Like you'll sign up just because you want those like 90 badges. So
Yeah.
getting rid of those type of people, it was a blessing. Um, they wouldn't. There's other things they wouldn't do. I don't want to get into specifics, but basically, like
Yeah.
they'll just hit attack or hit reinforce without much thinking. They won't listen to how to fix the keep. They won't listen to instructions like
Yeah.
that. So it's not
Exactly.
just that they wanted to keep R4, but one of the most common reasons to keep R4, I would get, is but I have alts. I don't want to have to ask someone all the time to remove an alt. And I'd be like straight up, like, okay, like no problem. But if you want that privilege, just help out in some way. Anyway, you can think of any sort of task you can do. Just tell me something. Or I could assign you, I would assign the easiest task. How about this? How about once a week or once an event, you tell us the priority of monsters? And if you can't even do that, like just come on. You have no interest in doing anything but collecting minimal rewards and growing your city without any fear of repercussions for your teammates of how you go about that.
And the fact that
I did the same thing. You go ahead, Egon.
The fact that what you just said, like for the most part, was a better part of like 2 years or a year or two to weed those people out with the system that you place now. Like this is something that people can implement, like, you know, sooner, like even like the newer servers especially, and spot those people out early on and let them go play somewhere else.
Yeah, the biggest thing, it's like ripping off a Band-Aid. Like I put up with a lot, and from people who've left the server and people who are here over the years, and it's like I put up with a lot just for monster rallies. You know, like that's always the biggest concern.
Yeah.
I don't want them going to another alliance and rallying monsters against us. But one of the biggest things is with the new rally card, the summon card, $10 a month. Anyone who doesn't have it, I think that's a selfish player in the alliance. Like pay $10. Like you're pretty serious about the game. With that, you don't have to worry about someone rallying against you. So now you can be more strict on the type of players you want to play with.
Yeah, we've had players that have...
I wanted to make a few comments about a few things you said. So I did the same thing you did, Genghis. I sent out an email and I said, you know, basically, if anyone can think of an officer position of any task or function or medial, you know, thing that needs to be done for the alliance, you can be an officer if you want to manage that one thing. You know, send me your ideas, and because the thing is that, you know, more officers is better than less officers. You know, reset alliance competition is one of the big things. You know, spawn Viking bosses, more people, you know, spawn alliance boss, you know, several things like that. One thing you were saying previously, Egon, is about the throne. If so many people have the throne. Like if you're on a one alliance server and you don't have to coordinate with other alliances for taking turns. Like if I was in that situation, we aren't on our server yet. What I would do is I would find somebody, right, who wants to coordinate who's going to get thrown every weekend, right? And I would tell them the only requirement is make sure someone gets the throne that hasn't had it yet. And I would just let them run that forever. But you can't do that, you know, you can't do... Well, I mean, you could do that on a server, have someone run that, but they could be the officer for just coordinating that one thing. So me as a leader, I don't have to worry about it ever again, right?
Yeah. I want to make two things clear real quick. So we still have a small alliance that's on our server. This is the alliance that we had a little war with, like briefly, like recently. And really all they wanted was like, you know, to have the throne because, like, you know, we had all the SBS wings. So we were, you know, keeping the throne. And there was like, I don't want to get into the drama, but there was like some drama with one person getting their wings like really like negative. Like they just dropped their bubble in SBS. And like I stood up and was like, this person can't get the throne because we don't want to condone that. Like we don't want to say like, you know, that's how you can get the throne just by giving away negative points in SVS. Like there's not any positive statement behind that. And that actually blew up into a whole bigger thing that turned into this like month and a half long war that definitely like crippled like the server a bit and wasn't worth it. And now we've come to terms. So we're rotating the throne with them for the next like 3 rotations. It was part of the deal to get like peace. There are only about 15 to 20 people in that alliance right now. And they don't really kill a lot of monsters. So like now that the war is over, because they were soloing monsters like crazy. I mean, like no lie, like 20 hours a day. So like what we were losing just to be like stubborn about, making peace with them really made no sense. And even if you edit this out, this is just for your guys' knowledge. So like, we wound up, making peace, and now we're all doing great. We're getting monsters, whatever, whatever. But I haven't fully implemented like the structure that you guys are doing because, and maybe you can give me an idea for this. Like we have like 15 R4s still, and everybody that like has a position right now, like there's just not enough jobs for everybody to do something. So like I do have a few that have been R4s forever, and they would love to help with things. There's just really not much for them to do because everything else is being, divvied out already.
So you can share some.
It's really ideal and necessary if you got all the big players on the entire server in one alliance. Then you can do it, and then it's legit, right?
Yeah, but you don't really need that,
you
and
can
lots of
forward to.
servers don't have all in one. Like your
Yeah.
server doesn't
Yeah.
have it, SOCON, and neither does mine, and we still
Right.
implement it. So what I did was I have lots who share things because there's 24 hours in a day. Some people are going to sleep, so like the person who does our undead, it's an event coordinator, not just undead. She also, and another female with her, also run like destructive attack. So like they'll organize all
Right.
sorts of little events. Then I have like three
That's what we
people
call-
who the two things they want to do is Alliance Carnival. Like they want to remind everybody to save all their things to the last 3 days. And then we can all get
Yeah.
to the maximum
that's
chest.
what we called ours also. We
And then they
called
want
her,
to-
so she had the
They
name
want to
of
reset
the
all those,
coordinator, right?
the Alliance competition. They want to reset all the tasks on that all the time. So
Yeah,
some of
yeah.
those things take 3 or 4 people. Our summons,
Yeah.
like there's not going to be one person online all the time. So I got 2 or 3 people for that. So
Yeah, so let me say
Yeah.
something important about this. Is if you do have it set up where everything that can be managed by one person is being managed by them, like it's just all happening behind the scenes, like it's just getting done throughout the week. If you haven't set it up that way, then your rank 4s actually are the leaders of the alliance.
yeah, another
The
one
big
you could have
difference.
lots of people do is SVS. Like I got a few people who all week they scout the other server. They see what times the people are running rallies so they could kind of see who's online and who's not. It's a little bit more challenging now with Rally Card, but you could still get an idea of how often the keeps are joining, who's setting at what times, that sort of stuff. And then they find the
Yeah.
locations of all the hives and, the little things like that. They'll mark subs of players that they think maybe might drop bubble for whatever reason. Like they've been doing this for a while now. So they have little ideas and plans, and then they'll coordinate little traps we might do on server. And it takes a few of them to do that. So there's lots of help areas people can work at.
Wait, so you guys are BOB?
Like for the most part, yeah, we are.
Oh, okay.
So we go back and forth between Nap and Bob. Right now, we basically have Bob between a few alliances and then Nap between everybody else.
So obviously at some point, like there was some segregation on your server where you didn't get all the people to play together, right? So was that just personality clashes, or was there deeper things behind that?
So I would say that at the start of the server, there wasn't a hard enough line drawn.
Okay.
And then people just
So
got
for-
too big and stuck in their own ways. And that's
Yeah.
it.
So what would you advise for newer servers that are listening, like starting out in the game? Like what advice would you give them to avoid this scenario?
You gotta merge that server fast. If you don't merge it all into one alliance within like the first year, like basically if people can't come together to say this is better for my account, if we're in the same alliance for SVS and Shalon's rewards and qualifying for All-Stars, then they have no interest in ever helping you in your alliance if they're not in your alliance. And you either change servers or you fight them or you find some other way to convince them to join you. But if this is still going on after a year, I just don't see, like, you're all dividing the resources if you're not together.
Yeah, correct. And that's the problem.
Can I ask you both a question?
Yeah.
So we're gonna get back on track here. When you guys were asking your teams, who wanted to run certain things for the teams. Like, what were you looking at when people were volunteering for those positions, or you were trying to identify, who would be the best to manage certain things?
So for me, I just before I implemented it, I knew I was going to. So I just thought of all the things I do, and I waited like 2 weeks, and I just kind of wrote things down that I do all the time, and then I made those into positions, and I just kind of broke them up into like, oh, this event coordinator can handle this, this, this. And I actually put a lot of stuff in there. And then a couple people said, I just want to do this. So I removed it from the event coordinator and made it its own special thing. And so I had positions already made. And then I also said, if there's anything else you're interested in, anything, something you really like about the game that I'm not thinking about because I might not enjoy certain things. Like I hate hunts. I hate playing with people. I just want to go in and get out as fast as I can. So I have people in the alliance who love hunts. And they'll organize people to play together.
So my question was, when you're trying to find certain things in the alliance that people can take over and manage, and have their own personal baby or football or whatever, and take care of it. Like, what was important to you from those people? Was it their power level, or how long they played the game, or how much they spent on their account?
For me,
anything like that?
For me, it was that they wanted to do it.
There you go.
That's it. They enjoyed that part of the game, and they were passionate about it.
What I'm asking.
And I knew they would put time into it.
That's why I'm asking. When I did the officer positions, in my alliance originally, I would write out a full description of, like, say, a communications officer, or a intel officer, or a training officer, or a recruitment officer. I put out a whole description of their responsibilities, how they'd run it entirely. You put in a few statements in there that they're going to take complete ownership of it and run it as they deem fit. Those types of things. So the alliance is aware that someone is completely managing this. If you have an issue with anything under their purview, talk to that person. So when people replied as volunteers, that's the only thing that I was looking at. Who was the most interested in the position? I didn't care what their power level was, how much they spent, nothing. I had some people that responded. Actually, I had multiple people that responded for different positions, and the very first thing they said to me was, if you think I'd be good at this position, I'd like to be the XYZ officer or whatever. And that's just telling me that, like, they just want to be a rank 4. Like, if the first thing they tell me is, I make them this officer and they don't do anything and they suck at it, that is my fault. I just didn't even respond to those people. You'll get some people that say those types of things.
Yeah, so how did you pick yours, Egon?
So to be 100% honest with you guys, like, it hasn't been fully implemented yet. And the reason why is when the new alliance, came over, they were the second biggest on the server. We inherited, their R4s, and they did cut off some of them. So it wasn't every single one, and we cut off some of ours that, were just there not doing anything. But we organically started, like, divvying out, like, things to do, and people just stepping up. That it's at the point where, like, there's just not much to do with some of the people, like I was saying, that aren't doing anything, but it's because there's nothing for them to do. And they still do some stuff, don't get me wrong. It's just not like a title, right? So, like, they'll help out, like, gathering, like, searches together when they're online, like, oh, who's online and needs searches, and, they'll start running rallies with one troop and, use my troops, which is, now everybody's doing rallies. So, like, everybody's pitching and not just R4s. So, like, I haven't fully implemented it. So, like, this is kind of like a midway point, we'll say, because I think, there's a couple things I could do a little bit better, and I need to decide with the people that have been R4 for a long time and don't contribute anything, but there's not much for them to contribute either. So it's kind of like a weird position for a few of them.
Yeah, if they're really good PvP players, you could have them train other people, look at their keeps, give them advice. And, like, really, that's a big task at the start, But then once you have your templates ready and
Yeah.
you have everybody going,
Yeah.
that's it. And that should
It's
be a few people.
It's a little difficult for a guy like Egon or myself to pass off, a lot of responsibilities because the two of us do play the game an excessive amount of time. And simply put, like, Egon is the best person for, like, multiple jobs in his alliance just because he's on the game a lot, highly interested, and, the level of knowledge he's learned in a short period of time is tremendous, right? So he's just the best to do certain things. But one of the things you said, Egon, some people stepped up to do certain things. So that's exactly what I would say. So after I had a conversation to people that applied for, volunteered, or responded to an email I sent out with a full description of responsibilities for a certain specific officer name, once I figured out who that person was, I would then send out another additional alliance mail saying so-and-so, is the training officer. And I would say they've stepped up their game. They're going to help anybody with, yada, 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 write a few paragraphs about their position. But I would specifically say that, presenting them to the Alliance, officially as
a pat on the back. Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
So I need to figure out that part. These, the people want to help. It's not like they don't want to help. As far as like the fixing the keeps and that kind of stuff, Genghis, like that's just something that I do. I spend a lot of time on that within my alliance and like on Discord within the game itself. Like every day I'm putting at least an hour, maybe 2 hours in getting on Discord screen shares and looking at people's keeps. And it's almost like a word of mouth thing. Like, you help one alliance and then they know another alliance. Oh, can you help this person? And it just turns into like it spreads fast. And I have the time to do it. And I don't, mind helping people.
Yeah, Egon invited me good. If you like doing
yesterday. It was a lot of fun.
I hate doing that stuff. And it's not that I hate helping people with their cities. It's that my city's built a specific way, and I'm not so in tune with the buffs that my teammates have and the troop types they can build, and they don't have as many resources available to them as me. So we have someone else who's better at that with smaller keeps, and he trains them on that. And the only thing I run in the Alliance, other than overseeing stuff, and I really never step in on anyone. I back them up on everything. The only thing I do is I select who I think is capable of playing Battlefield, and if we're going to use a strategy, that's it.
Yeah. Okay. So for that example, like after some Battlefields, after some PvP, or a while, like as far as someone to help, lower spenders, smaller counts, etc., you're gonna know on your Battlefields team like who has the best T1 trap. Like that's spent little, like it's going to be obvious. You know who those guys are on your team, so you're hoping if you're looking for a training officer, like all servers just have so many low coiners, so many low spenders. Everybody Alliance has them, but you're going to hope that one of those guys has a very well built T1 trap, that they want to become, the training officer, or for my alliance specifically, I called one of them, the growth officer. Or we had a training officer and a growth officer, and then we also had what I called no one volunteered for this position. We didn't have one. We have one called an intel officer, and basically what they would do is provide resources on a Discord, what's the best web pages for the game, Excel spreadsheets, general comparison charts. They kind of just only have to set it up once and maintain new things, a few times. But all three of those officers can like work together, right? If you had three. Our growth officer was just like the, lowest spending guy that obviously put in the most amount of effort to grow. So he didn't even volunteer for a position or to be a rank 4. I just sent out an email one day because he had obviously, like I just noticed over time, like he was putting in maximum effort as a free-to-play, being in all Battlefields, doing good in SVS, etc., etc., etc. So I just made him the growth officer one day, and I told him, Work with a training officer to help small accounts. Yeah.
Yeah, Egon, I would just double up. I would just, if you have a bunch of people who they're good, you know they could contribute somehow, just pair them up on a task together and have them talk amongst themselves and do that. And you could even have them help you training people. Like you send them the information, then let them talk with people. One of the ways I find most about small keeps is how when I attack and fail. And I'm like, oh, that was a good built city. And then I'll send it to our training officer and be like, take a look at this one.
Right. That's a good idea. I love looking at reports. And there are a few R4s that do that. Like they get on calls with players, to help them in certain areas that they are, comfortable with. There just comes the point where they don't have the full knowledge, on everything. So I have to step in sometimes. But they definitely do that. Like there are, teaching them like some of the basics. When we merged with the whole server except the one alliance, we got a lot of players that never PvP'd before. So like for those people, I definitely had leadership step up and like show them how to do refines and like just kind of the little things that we take for granted. Blazons, like, those are, if you don't know how to do them, you're going to waste a lot of stuff trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I remember my first few months in the game, like how much I wasted. How much? Like, I remember my first gold general was Nathaniel Green, and I started to spec him out. And that was back when there was no runestones available. And then I was like, oh my God, I wasted so many.
That's what Egon was doing with me yesterday with the guy. He had like thousands and thousands of blazons. He had like, what was it? He had like 6,000 blazon cores. He had 100 dual attribute blazons. He hadn't done anything yet. He was so GG. We walking through it.
That wasn't me at first. I had the worst blazons I've ever seen.
Okay, so do either of you have anything else to add to this? I think we've covered
would just
most
say
of
for
it.
More information, we got on a few, several different topics. But if anyone, wants to take 2 hours, if they want their alliance to run more smoothly, if they're overtasked as an alliance leader, they get a whole bunch of things they do themselves. Because that's the hardest hit to the team. Like, if you have one guy on the team that just manages, like, 5 or 6 different things for years, and then one day he quits, like, that's a huge loss. So, if anyone's more interested and they can take 2 hours, I got 4 videos on my YouTube. My YouTube's not monetized, so it's not for profit or anything. But they're all called, just search for Rank and File or Real Barb Life, Rank and File. They'll all come up, and they're a little lengthy.
Link part 1 of it in the video, so if people want to check it out. And you could cut it down to an hour and a half by putting him at 1.5 speed. That's what I do.
Yeah. And again, Genghis and Egon, they watch these videos, but I had to talk to them both personally for hours before they understood what I was talking about, up to the point that they actually wanted to incorporate, this type of leadership structure and, understood why it could possibly be better.
All right. Sounds good. So check out Real Barb Life, and thanks to both of you, and like, subscribe, leave a comment.